Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got an update on the upcoming off-year elections, specifically the gubernatorial race in New Jersey. There's another big one in Virginia, but the New Jersey one is what a lot of people are zeroing in on, with the Republican Jack Ciattarelli seemingly having a decent chance. There's been a lot of momentum. Ciattarelli ran in 2021 against an incumbent and only lost by 2.5 points. We saw in 2024 with the general, New Jersey shift significantly. It was only around a 6 point win for Harris. And now in 2025, it will be Ciattarelli, this time going up against potentially a weaker candidate in Mikey Sherrill. And there's a few different things we can look at. New Jersey Republicans now increasing their mail-in voting turnout lead on the Democrats for the 2025 governor's race. You can see the percent of ballots returned. Republicans at around 18.5, Dems at around 16.5. Mail is plus 6 points more red than it was in 2024. You can see the mail-in and all ballots. Of course, the Democrats are going to have a big advantage. There's a few questions about this data and the way in which it's represented. Obviously, they're comparing 2024 to 2025. In 2024, Republicans in just the general election lost by around 6 points. I think a more apt comparison would be 2021, although in terms of the mail-in comparisons, that too could be not a direct or not a perfect correlation, because in 2021, you could argue Republicans were a lot more scared to vote by mail than they are now in 2025. The sentiment from Donald Trump in 2021 was that mail-in ballots are bad. Obviously, now after the Republicans won in 2024, they're a lot more open to do the mail-in voting. So it's a combination of both of those things. Does this data tell us that Republicans are going to perform better than they did in 2024? Well, considering 2024 was a general election and also the context of how well Ciattarelli did in 2021, yes, it's fair to say Ciattarelli will do better than Trump did in 2024 in New Jersey. The question is, will he do better than he did in 2021 against an incumbent? There is other variables at play in terms of that. In 2020, obviously, Biden had won. A lot of Republicans were angry. Now in 2025, considering Trump won in 24, there is going to be potentially a higher Democrat turnout, although there is the added Charlie Kirk assassination, which just recently happened. You would figure that would galvanize Republicans to a degree. And just in general, we are seeing a lot more momentum for Republicans, specifically in the state of New Jersey, with sentiment now saying, well, maybe New Jersey will become a swing state. If Ciattarelli can win, that would only heighten those expectations for 2028 if you have a Republican governor. Taking a look at the overall polling, we got a few new polls. You have the Fox News poll with Sherrill being, +8. A lot of people think, well, Fox News is a Republican biased pollster. They're really not. I mean, this +8 is pretty insane. I think Quinnipiac's +9 is, we know Quinnipiac is heavily liberal bias, whether you think they themselves, the college, is biased, or just the pollster, the way in which they're conducted. They are always, 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 always wrong. And they always will be wrong in the heavy liberal direction. So I don't think Sherrill will win by 9 points or 8 points. You have Quantis Insights, which is a pretty respected pollster. Dems will say it's conservative. It's like an independent pollster, honestly. You've got Sherrill +2, and then you've got The Hill saying it's a tie, but there are a lot of undecideds. You've got 43-43, so that would be only adding up to 86. You'd have 14% undecided in that scenario. You have on Fox News 8% undecided. Quantis looks like around 10% undecided or 12%. But in terms of this, I would say that you've got a composite right now of Sherrill +4.7. In a governor's race, the polling, I mean, to a degree, it does matter. You would like that number to come down. Quinnipiac, that poll should drop off of the composite, considering it was done about a half month ago. There's probably going to be a big tick up on polling within New Jersey and Virginia. New Jersey is, in terms of the overall odds and what experts are saying, it is certainly the better chance for Republicans. I think it's important to understand the context of both New Jersey and Virginia in terms of the governor's races. Yes, Ciattarelli was very close in 21, but this is still a liberal state. New Jersey is a state that went to the Democrats by 6 points recently. They've had liberal governors. They did have Chris Christie a little while ago, but and also Virginia. Recently, it has been a liberal state. Harris won it in 24. and it's been liberal for several straight election cycles. So these are liberal states. They're going to try and slant this if Citarelli and Earl Sears both lose. They're going to say, well, it's Trump is not liked. He's got a terrible approval rating. This is going to destroy any chance he has in terms of a momentum for 2026. The voters are rejecting his second term, when in reality, these are liberal states. I'm not trying to give excuses if Citarelli and Earl Sears lose, but these are liberal states. That's just the context of it. I think Citarelli can win for sure, but you're also dealing with an angry Democrat electorate that's going to play into it, but also possibly an angry Republican electorate because of the Charlie Kirk assassination and the subsequent liberal reaction to that. But plus a 4.7, you'd like to see that composite number come down a little bit. But when you're talking about these governor's polls, tends to be more variance, and you're looking at the dates of these polls. I mean, there's one from half a month ago. You've got the Hill Emerson, that was about a week ago, so that's fine. But there's just not a ton of polling, a ton of overall data on this. I mean, the previous polling we had seen was really mid to late summer, and it had Cheryl up significantly. You had the debate happen. You had a few things come out in the press that were very negative against Cheryl. You've got liberals saying, well, Cheryl is not a very good candidate, we admit, and it's not like she's an incumbent. So there is a chance for Citarelli here to potentially pull off an upset. We saw the Glenn Youngkin upset in Virginia in 2021. People are wondering, could this be a repeat this time in a different liberal state, New Jersey, which people are saying, well, maybe it's turning, maybe it's becoming a swing state. I'm certainly not there yet on it, looking at the voter registration. And really, I would say for 2028, if you force liberals to defend it, that's a big improvement. You force them to allocate funds defending New Jersey, funds in which could be going to Rust Belt states, funds that could be going to North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. That would be ideal. Even if they hold it, the 14 electoral votes, you still force them to defend it. And we'll see in terms of, the context of the polling in New Jersey in 2027, 2028. We'll see what the numbers say. And also, we'll see what happens with this governor's race. Obviously, this governor's race happening in just a little over a month, so we should get that answer pretty quickly. You do have Polymarket right now, a total volume of around $1.6 million, and you do have Mikey Sherrill now stabilizing around 80 to 82%. It's about 80-20, I would say. So a 1 in 5 shot for Citarelli. I don't think this is, and we'll see what happens. I mean, for this to move, we'd have to see polls that have either Citarelli near tied or up. And that's what would really move this betting. That's what a lot of this is based off of. It is a little bit more nuanced than just polling itself. But the general thing is, I mean, it's a consensus on the polling composite and understanding which polls have been good, which polls have been bad. I wonder if Atlas Intel would consider doing a poll on New Jersey and maybe a few other top pollsters in October, considering in terms of the off year, this is really the election to look at. You could say also Virginia, but again, I think when you look at the betting in Virginia, 3% chance Republicans win. They've got a 19% chance here, even taking a look at the last week, and it's kind of stabilized for Sherrill. Previously, it was around 92-8. So Citarelli within the past month has certainly made a bit of a comeback to a degree to at least give himself a chance. And again, the way this is reflected, I mean, we could see a significant change within the coming weeks if the polling data looks better for Citarelli, if there are some murmurs in terms of the early voting going very well for Citarelli, although that does require context of Republicans being more open to doing the early vote. So it's hard to really do an apples to apples comparison on that in terms of previous years. Even we were talking about this looking at 2024 up against 2020, where Trump was embracing, at least to a higher degree, the mail-in in 2024 versus 2020. But it did work out. I mean, we were saying, well, 2024, these mail-in numbers look so much better, and then Trump ended up winning the election. Now, again, is that the reason why? Well, probably not. I mean, obviously it helped, but he did better across the board in pretty much everything in 2024 versus 2020. It wasn't like he only did better in mail-in, and that's the reason he won. So I would say for Citarelli at this point, you're looking at a few close polls down the stretch. You're looking at a closer composite to where it is now. And I do think Citarelli just overall is a better candidate than Mikey Sherrill. The only thing the Democrats can say is it's a liberal state. It's like Virginia was in 2021. If there is an upset, it will be a surprise to many people unless we get some crazy turns in terms of the polling within the next few weeks. But it's something to where you could see, based off of these two candidates, there potentially being an upset. It is certainly possible. So I would say it's more of a cautious optimism. And I mean, you look at Virginia. Virginia at this point is just, it's not close. Now, you can say Virginia, if you look at the polling, it's very similar to where Glenn Youngkin was in 2021, Earl Sears is. But I don't have a real high, I don't think there's a high chance Virginia is going to be an upset for the Republicans. And then they're going to gloat about it and they're going to be like, well, see, everybody hates Trump, just like they did with Wisconsin. But Virginia is obviously a clear, at this point, it's a liberal state and has been a liberal state for several election cycles. And New Jersey is a liberal state as well. Now, when it comes to the governor's races, the Republican tends to have a better chance, yes. Which is why we're hoping, because of the swing that we saw in 2024, add the fact that Citarelli only lost by 2.5 in 2021, add to the fact that Sherrill is a weak candidate here in 2025, and Citarelli is running again, and Citarelli has, momentum. That's why people are hoping that New Jersey is a potential upset for Republicans in 2025 and stealing that governorship there. So we'll have to see. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of polls in New Jersey, or at least more polls in October. Either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you like it down below. Also, follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.